Hello and welcome to Taste, Euronews' culinary magazine. In this special edition, we'll travel through Japan to discover 5 emblematic products: surimi, konjac, soy sauce, miso and yellowtail. Let's go. We begin our journey on the port of Odawara to discover the delicacy of surimi. Nothing to do with the industrial crab sticks we find in Europe. Here, its production is ancestral, handmade by masters. Odawara is nestled between the mountains and the Great Sagami Bay, south of Tokyo. We're meeting Thierry Voisin, a French Michelin-starred chef living in Japan. He's going to show me the most famous surimi-making houses, and especially the flagship product, Kamaboko. What is Kamaboko?
Kamaboko, just like judo, is an art. It is of exceptional nobility, a way to value fish. Let's go meet the Kamaboko master, the sensei in Japanese. Sensei, hello.
Traditional Kamaboko is made of fresh fish. In a few precise movements, the fillets are removed, ready for transformation.
Working by hand allows us to check the quality of the fish one by one and adjust the cooking temperature and other elements. The dough will be lighter, which is very important for the texture.
Odawara has other benefits. The mountain water which permeates the fish paste is rich in minerals, making it perfect for shaping. The fish is shaped with a knife on wooden planks. Steam cooked, bathed in cold water, the Kamaboko is ready.
You see, Cyril, it looks like it's machine-made. They are all the same, but it's done by hand.
That's true. Let's go taste.
I can't wait.
In the neighbouring buildings, elegant shops bear witness to the love the Japanese have for this refined dish, which they offer as presents during festivities. We sit down for a tasting.
You have here a baked surimi, another one fried, and that one has been poached. You finally have Japan's most popular, a kamaboko that was steamed and carved on a wooden board.
The taste is not distorted at all. It really is the taste of fish. We feel the mirin that is added, which brings a little sweetness.
Here we have a typical Japanese product.
This is typical Japan. We have the texture, the taste. I really want people to discover this product. For me, it's really exceptional.
We're heading to the Konjac fields of the Gunma prefecture. This root vegetable has grown here in Japan for centuries, and more recently it's popular with Europeans keeping an eye on their figure.
Their figure and their health.
Why are we seeing this rebirth of Konjac?
Well, precisely, because it's a very healthy product, and what is good for the body is good for the mind.
Let's find out.
Let's meet the farmer.
It's the rainy season in the Gunma province, the primary producer of konjac, located in the centre of Japan. We're here to meet Mr. Kambe.
So what are we looking for in this plant?
It's not the leaves that we eat, it's the bulb that is underground. At the moment, it is still small because of the season. The harvest will take place in October or November. It will then be about this size. Now, do you want to come to my house to eat?
Konjac is a health food present in many Japanese meals. It's usually made into dough and then cut into thin strips. Konjac is fibre-rich and offers a feeling of satiety, although it is almost calorie-free. Good for us, as Mr. Kambe's wife and mother have prepared us a generous tasting.
The texture, the taste, in Japanese we call it yasashi aji. It's a friendly taste. There's no aggressiveness at all here. It's nice, and by eating it, you feel that it's good for your health. Funny, isn't it?
Thierry Voisin returns to Tokyo. We're staying in the Konjac region where the root vegetable is used in many ways. This supermarket is dedicated to the product.
Even when I eat a lot, it doesn't make me get fat. It's good for the health.
Here we find konjac paste. It can also be transformed into popcorn, ice cream, noodles, or even rice.
It's very good for people with diabetes. It helps lower the calorie intake. Zero sugar, almost zero calories. Konjac answers well to a certain trend. It's a very healthy food, it's good for the body. That's why I'm sure it'll have more and more success.
We're now in Maebashi to talk about a must in Japanese cuisine, soy sauce, or shoyu. Thierry, soy sauce is a bit like wine in France, right? There are hundreds here.
Hundreds, even thousands, between 1,000 and 1,500 producers in Japan.
Let's find out with a shoyu expert.
A shoyu sommelier, Takahashi-san.
In his shop near Tokyo, Mr. Takahashi no longer counts soy sauces, the condiment that brings umami, the Japanese fifth flavour. That's savoury and pleasant.
This one, which has the clearest colour, is Shiro Shoyu. From there, the shades are darker, because it's aged longer. This one has the most powerful aromas. It is tamari.
Can you smell that?
The ripening, but also the quantity of soy, salt and wheat determine the flavour and colour of each shoyu. The nuances are striking.
Amazing.
Thierry, do you have a preference?
Small preference for the saishikomi. Good attack, good acidity on the attack. Then there is roundness, length. It's a very beautiful product.
Its producer comes from the Nagano region. I can give you his contact, so he can show you how he makes shoyu.
We head to Nagano. We meet the son and the father. At Okubus, shoyu has been part of the family history for 133 years. Knowledge lives through time as microorganisms crackle in the fermentation barrels.
My father often said, you have to do the right thing and wait. 1 year for the taste, 2 years for the aroma, and 3 years for the colour. After that, you get a very good shoyu, very thick.
The ingredients are simple: wheat and soybeans from Nagano and Okinawa salt. The wheat is roasted. The soybeans are steamed. They are bathed in spring water and aged for a long time. 3 years later, the nectar is manually filtered. A rare and respected tradition.
Before, I thought exporting was only for big companies, but times have changed. Traditional shoyu, prepared using ancestral methods, is very popular. That's why we managed to sell it abroad.
We're in the Nagano Mountains, nicknamed the Japanese Alps, famous for the production of miso, a fermented soy and rice paste. We're about to meet a producer who uses traditional methods to make it. If there's a dish that's essential to the Japanese way of life, it's surely miso soup. It accompanies almost every meal, and it aids digestion. Japan has more than 1,000 miso producers. Like Kosuke Ishii, whose ancestor founded the Ishii Company in the 19th century. Since then, miso has been fermented in these casks made from cypress wood, in a process that lasts from 1 to 3 years. The recipe is unchanged: rice, salt, soy, and a little patience. The aromatic dough is worked by hand.
Today, most producers favour quantity and speed. Our mission is to keep the traditional know-how, preserve the taste, the colour and the smell of the miso in the long term to transmit to future generations.
Nearly half of all Japanese miso is produced in the Nagano region, but there are hundreds of varieties in the country. To find them, we're heading to the capital. We're in Tokyo to discover a miso shop. I'm sure we'll find everything we're looking for. The aromas, the colours, everything here makes you hungry. People come from miles around to find their favourite miso. It's used in soup, but also as a condiment. This one, for example, brings out the best in meat or fish.
For more than 700 years, the Japanese have been drinking miso soup every day. For the Japanese, miso is also food for the soul.
Here you have all kinds of miso. They have different colours. Why?
Japan is a rather long country. In general, miso is darker in the north and lighter in the south. When the climate is cold, the miso is browner and more salty, while in the south it's whiter and also softer.
It's said there's no set time for miso, and actually, it's time to eat. A miso soup, a bowl of rice, this is a typical Japanese meal, right?
Yes, that's right. A bowl of rice, a miso soup, and there are some basic condiments like these pickled vegetables. It's really the basic meal.
Bon appétit.
いただきます。
We're ending our trip here in the Wakayama prefecture to discover an iconic fish from Japan, the yellowtail. It's a fish of choice for sushi and sashimi, but it can also be cooked in many ways. But first, let's see how it's produced. We have an appointment with some fish farmers. Kushimoto is in the south of the country. Here, these Kindai University researchers are behind what they call the Blue Revolution. That is, to produce fully farmed fish without catching the fry at sea. In these nets we can see yellowtails known here as buri. They are one of Japan's most exported fish. So the technique here is to reproduce the whole life cycle of the yellowtail.
Yes, we hatch eggs ourselves and raise the babies with love. When they're big enough, we bring them to this farm at sea, and after 2 years, when they reach 3 to 5 kilos, they're ready to be consumed.
So these, can we eat them already?
Oh yes, they're delicious.
Taste is the key word here. This company exploits the commercial opportunities of fish farming innovations. It exports to many places in the world, including Europe, where the Japanese yellowtail is appearing more and more on the menu, without having to wait for the fishing season.
We are able to produce quality farmed yellowtail all year round. Before, we could not achieve the quality of the wild fish, but today, our farmed buri is of higher quality and, notably, it's fatter.
The yellowtail is one of Japan's favourites. To understand why, we're heading to Osaka, to a restaurant specialising in fish. Here we're shown how to make a delicious yellowtail dish.
The buri has a melting texture. It's fat, but it's not heavy. We recommend cooking it in sashimi. That's how we like it the most in Japan, and that's how I prefer it. But it's also very good cooked in the stove. Or fried. There are many ways to cook it.
A Japanese poet once said Japanese cuisine is to be looked at rather than eaten. Well, let's make a little exception.